Hey everyone, Nadine here from Stitching and Crafting just for you. My aim here is to stitch and to craft just for you. Today I'm going to show you how to sew a pillowcase dress for your baby girl up to 3 months old. First, you will need your fabric. I am using 2 different fabrics. You will need your scissors for cutting, your pins for pinning the fabrics together, 2 strips of fabrics for the armhole facing and to form the tie at the shoulder. These 2 pieces of strips or facing are cut on bias. Elastic, and I will be using this piece of lace as an embellishment. You can use lace, you can use ribbon, it's all up to you. I must show you that I have already completed the front part of the dress. You can see. So I'm going to show you how to do the back part. So the back is basically similar to the front. The squares of fabric should be 12 inches by 12 inches. Now, because I am using 2 different pieces of fabric, the measurements will be different. As I said before, I'm using 2 different fabrics, so the measurements will be different. I will cut for the bottom of the dress. I will cut it 9.5 inches, half inches or half inch for the seam. I will cut the top 7 inches and I will place it on fold and take half inch from it. So therefore, when it is on fold, it will be 3.5 inches. Taking away half inch, it will be 3 inches. So I will end up with a perfect square of 3 inches for the top and 9 inches for the bottom. Now I am going to stitch the top to the bottom of the dress. Before I stitch, I'm going to pin it. So I'm going to pin the top to the bottom. I'm going to pin it to the right side. So you can now see it is pinned. So I'm going to stitch while I am stitching. I will be taking out the pins. I'm going to do a reverse stitch to strengthen. So I now end up with a perfect square. Now I am going to cut the armhole. The armhole should be cut 3 inches down and 1 inch across. Three inches down from the top, 1 inch across. Now I have cut the armhole. You can see that's the wrong side and this is the right side. Now I have a perfect square. I am now going to cut, no, sorry about that, I am going to stitch the casing for the elastic. The elastic that I'm using is 1/2 inch. Therefore, I'm going to stitch the casing a little bit over 1/2 inch so that the elastic will relax in the casing, meaning it will not twist. Reverse a little. Reverse stitch for enforcement. So I have stitched my casing. I am going to insert the elastic. I am going to use this pin to insert the elastic. Now that I've inserted the elastic, I'm going to use a pin so it stays right here. I'm going to pull it through, use another pin to hold the end so that it will not go through the casing, like so. You can see the elastic is perfectly fitted into the casing. What I'm going to do now is to stitch the end right here so the elastic will stay. Reverse. I'm going to stitch the other end So I remove this. Here, so the back is now completed. What I'm going to do next is to serge. I'm going to take this over to my serger. You can see it's now serged. Now that the back is now completed, I am going to join the front and the back together. So right sides together, I'm going to place the front to the back. Then I'm going to stitch them at the sides. So I'm going over to the machine to stitch at the sides. And I will give it 1/2 inch seam. Reverse, strengthen or reinforce stitch. reverse to reinforce stitch. So I've stitched one side. It looks like this. I'm going to stitch the other side. ½ inch seam allowance. Reverse to reinforce stitch. Reinforce to, so I press the reverse button, strengthen stitch. Cut. Now I am going to serge the sides of the dress. Over to my serger. Cut thread, serge in the other side, cut, so both sides are now stitched. The dress is on the wrong side, stitched, serged, and now the opening for the arm, cutting off some loose threads. I'm going to stitch the hem of the dress, and I'm going to stitch it about 1/4 inch. So I'm going to turn up twice, 1/4 inch. So I'm going to turn once, twice. Take up my needle, take it down into the fabric, ready to stitch. Reverse to reinforce. I'm using the medium stitch pace because I don't want to go fast. reverse. So the dress is now stitched hem. I'm going to turn it on the right side. So you can see a cute little dress falling into place. The next step here is to do the armhole facing, and I'm going to use these strips which I cut on bias. So when I cut it here, there it is, you will see a slant or 90 degrees slant here, and at the bottom of the strip another 90 degrees slant. Okay, and I turn the sides in the center, let the two ends of the strip meet in the center. So they meet in the center and I press. Now I'm going to attach the strip onto the armhole for facing and also for the strap of the dress. So before I do that, I'm going to find the center. So I have it folded in half. So I'm going to mark the center with a pin. So there goes, that's the center. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other strip. Fold it in half and mark it with a pin. The next step is to find the center right here, right at the seam, right here at the seam. I will place the center of the strip. So I will line it up right there. And I'm going to pin. I will do the same thing for the other side. The center right here, right at the seam. The armhole seam. That's where I place the center of the strip and I'm going to pin. Now I'm going to stitch around onto the seam. So right here I'll be doing a 1/2 inch seam. So I'm going to stitch. Sorry about that. So the edge of the armhole is placed inside the center of the line of the strip or the lining for the armhole. So there it is. I'm going to turn it over. Now you will have something looking like this. Again, the center of the fold right here on this strip will hold the edge of the armhole. So I'm going to turn it over like this, and I'm going to pin. So I pin it right there. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other armhole. So you will have something looking like this. This is what it should look like. Center. I'm going to pin. So I have finished pinning the dress. I have something looking like this. So you can see that the facing for the armhole extends up to the shoulder of the dress, and that is what I'm going to use to make the tie or the bow. Now that I've finished pinning, I'm going to stitch. reverse, I'm removing the pin each time I get close to it. So whenever you get close to your pin, you remove it. So I'm going to continue to stitch all the way up to the end of the strip, making a fold. So I'm going to fold the end of the strip under. I'm going to cut a piece off. So it can be turned under easily. Now I'm going to stitch across the end of this strip backward for reinforcement. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side of the strip. I'm going to turn under. I'm going to cut a piece off for easy turning under, or so that I can turn it under easily. So there goes. Stitch across the end of the strip, reverse for reinforcement. okay. So I've done for one side. I'm going to finish for the other side. Taking the needle up and down into the fabric. Reverse for reinforcement. Taking the pin out. I'm going to cut a piece from this strap so that it turns on under easier or easily. I'm going to stitch across. Reverse for reinforcement. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other end of the strip. Let me get some thread out. Reverse for reinforcement. I'm going to cut again so the end of the strip can be turned on under easier or easily. stitching across the end of the strip. Reverse for reinforcement. Okay, pretty good so far. And that concludes the stitching of the dress so far. And this is it. The next step is to get it ironed. So here is that baby girl dress. From the tail to the top, and from the top to the tail. So you will tie here. Let me get the thread off. So the next thing you do is to trim the dresses. Trim the dress, get the loose threads off. So there goes. I'm tying the strap at the shoulder. I tied it twice. So this is the front and this is the back. If you like this video, please like, share, comment, subscribe. I appreciate it very much. Bye.